Hello everyone, my name is Layla and I'm the third class of grade 6. Before I start, let me ask you this question. Do you know anything about the plague? How about the Black Death? Actually, these two terms refer to the same disease, and there is a book called The Plague, which is one of the most famous books among the classics. How about taking some time to learn about this book and the plague? Now, let's get started. The plague was first begun at a dry plain area of the Central Asia, and by the Silk Road, it spread to the western part and arrived at the Crimea in 1343. Most of the evolutionary anthropologists think that the plague broke out from the present-day Kyrgyzstan or from the war between Mongolia and Kyrgyzstan. However, the most famous perspective is that some of the crews from the Crimea who arrived at the port of the island of Sicily gave the Black Death to the Italians, and it spread to all parts of Europe. From there, it spread throughout Europe along the Mediterranean shipping network because of the Oriental mouse flea, which was a parasite of a black mouse as a host that were infested in cargo ships. The symptoms of the plague are like this: severe headache, fatigue, fever, vomiting, marked weakness, coughs, shortness of breath, and fluid hematoma. The latent period of the plague is about 5 to 10 days, and if the patient is unlucky, he or she may die within 3 to 4 hours. Shockingly, almost a third of Europeans were killed by the plague, but this has helped them to bloom the Renaissance and change the world history. And there is a book, The Plague, which shows how the world was incredibly unreasonable, and yet there is a ray of hope. First, I'll introduce the author of this book, Albert Camus. Albert Camus is a French author who was born in Algeria in 1913. His family was poor, and after his father died in World War I, his family became poorer than before. However, Camus graduated University of Algiers and studied in the Department of Philosophy. He tried to be a professor of the university he graduated, but because of tuberculosis, he became a journalist and philosopher instead. He received the Nobel Prize when he was 44, and he was the youngest recipient at that time. However, he died at the age of 47 due to a car accident. This is the profiles of the main characters and important characters in this book. Bernard Rieu is a doctor in Oran City, and he is the main character of this book. Jean Tarot is a writer of private journal, and he also lives in Oran City. He's a very important character in this story. Raymond Rambert is a journalist from Paris. He came to Oran because of his work, but after the plague was occurred, he blocked in the city. Father Panlu is a pope of Oran City, and he gave a sermon to people that the plague is a punishment of God. Now, let me talk about the story of this book. Bernard Rieu was a doctor of a city called Oran in Algeria. His wife was too sick, so she was in a sanitarium far from the city, and Rieu was living with his mother. One day, he saw a rat coughing up blood and suddenly died. After that day, thousands of rats were killed, and the citizens of Oran started to feel something weird. A lot of people, including young kids, started to die because of something, and doctors in Oran found the reason. It was the plague. They reported this to the government, and the city was blocked. All the food, water, and electricity were not enough, and people lived in the waves of fear. One day, a man named Taru came to Ryu and told him that he will help Ryu and make a volunteer group. A reporter named Rambert, who is from Paris, insisted that he's not an Oran citizen and tried to escape from there. Father Panelu gave a sermon to people that the plague is a whipping of God to all the sinners on Oran. Some criminals like Cottard hope the plague goes forever and never end because these people made a lot of profits from such chaotic situations. One day, Rambert called to Ryu to work together with the volunteer group, and a judge, Othen, who lost his son by the plague, also participated. Unfortunately, Father Panelu got an unknown disease and died, but Ryu could not figure out what the disease was, and it was not the plague either. Suddenly, the victims started to recover from plague, and the number of the deaths slowly decreased. A few weeks later, Oran divided the fear of the plague, and all the citizens were happy that now there is only the happiness remained in their life. However, Taru got the plague, and after a long battle, he died. To make things worse, Ryu's sick wife also died in the sanitarium. Everything became normal, and the gate to Oran City was opened again, but Ryu thinks that the plague has not disappeared yet, and it will come back and haunt people when they started to forget about the fear and the lessons. I like all the characters in this story, and it was really hard to choose my favorite one. My favorite character is Taru, who was almost like a hero in this book. Taru was not a citizen of Oran City, and he could not volunteer for the patients. However, he helped them to recover and showed a strong sense of solidarity. His will to survive from the plague was remarkable. His death was very impressive, and these are why Taru is my favorite character. The writer Camus wanted to show people a strong sense of solidarity in a terrible situation with no hope. He also wanted to show that the only way of riding out the storm is the solidarity and active participation of people. I had so much fun making this presentation about the plague, which is written by Camus. Thank you for listening and have a great day.